Around noon, Mr. Strong stopped the pack train as we were making our way through a dense growth of cottonwood. The cowbells that had been clanking all the way down the line were quiet all of a sudden. "There it is, ma'am," Mr. Strong said. "That is Chicken." I could barely make it out through the trees, a settlement that was just a little ways below us. We descended into a small level valley. About a quarter of a mile ahead were maybe 25 or 30 buildings strung along the same side of the creek we were on. "Is that all of it?" I asked. "Just about." I had imagined it would be something like Eagle, a town, but from this distance, it looked more like one of the small Indian villages we had gone through. There we go. There's old schoolhouse. And got my metal detector, my shovel. Gonna see if we can recover some history. "Is it time yet, teacher?" I looked at my watch. It was 1 minute till 12. "Almost," I replied. "Everyone's books and papers put away?" They all answered yes, anxious to get outside. The pack train was due in sometime after lunch, and this time I had told them they could have the afternoon off. The first time that Mr. Strong had come in, I had kept the school right up until the last minute, not wanting the school board to feel that I was shirking my duty. But there had been no point to it at all. All the class had done was waste time. Mr. Strong hadn't been fooling when he said that the pack train coming in was a big day for the settlement. It was the only link we had with the outside world, with newspapers and magazines, mail from friends and relatives outside, and supplies that we had ordered from the general store in Eagle. Everyone primped up a little, maybe not in Sunday clothes, but in the best and cleanest weekday ones. And the women would even put on a little rouge. Outside the schoolroom, it was usually quiet during the day, with maybe just the sound of someone sawing wood or doing some hammering or a dog barking. But when the pack train came in, miners for miles around drifted in, starting around 11 o'clock. And the dogs all over the settlement had to take note of each arrival. The whole settlement livened up, and the class was just too excited to work. Not that I blamed them. I was pretty excited about it for myself. "School's out for the day," I finally yelled, and a minute later the classroom was empty. The pack train didn't come in until late, almost 3 o'clock. Check out this old dog sled. Check that out. Isn't that cool? There's not much left on it, but dang. These are her original windows. This would have opened up here. Before I went to sleep, I went into the schoolroom again. I stood behind my table and imagined the kids sitting in front of me. It was exciting. The room looked wonderful. I had scrubbed the Yukon stove, so it looked almost new, and it was all ready with kindling and logs. On one of the shelves, there was a whole row of books, a few readers, a dictionary I had brought with me, and some old encyclopedias. It was just a big bare room now, I thought, But in a few weeks, after the children had begun to draw and make things, it would look like a schoolroom. Looking at the empty tables and chairs, I thought of so many things I wanted to say to the class. I went back into my quarters and started jotting them down. They were things like our being part of America up here, just as much as the people in the 48 states were, and how important it was for all of us to be fine, well-educated citizens. Spent about 10 minutes detecting on the side of the old schoolhouse. I dug a really old 20 or an older 22 casing right there. I dug a piece of a old cook stove. I laid it up against the side right there, and I'll see what the owner wants to do with all these pieces that I've dug afterwards. Look at this. Isn't that cool? Looks like it has some sort of marks on the top of it. I'm not sure exactly, but it's a very old ceramic insulator. Check out that old piece of wood. Super cool. What a good save in this historic spot. I'm having such a good day out. The sun's coming out. I'm gonna definitely have to take my jacket off now. It was that frozen outhouse that almost caused a tragedy of sorts at the end of the week. 10 minutes after I excused little Willard Friday, he still had not come back to the classroom, so Nancy went out to see what was keeping him. Nancy came back right away, trying not to laugh and looking worried at the same time. Willard was stuck to the seat. Getting him off turned out to be a major undertaking. We tried pouring warm water around him, but it froze as soon as it hit the boards. So finally, Mr. Carew had to bring a crowbar and pry the boards off. The outhouse was a two-holer, so when we carried Willard into my quarters, the boards were long enough so that he looked for all the world like a prince on a litter. It didn't seem to bother him, though. We propped one end of the board on the stove and the other over a chair, and he sat as calm as you please until he thawed off. Back here behind the fallen down outhouse, some sort of shed. And it has seen better days itself. Wow. Number 8. Wonder what that was. This area has such a huge time in history. You have stuff from the 1800s all the way up to 1960. So you just never know what you're going to find. Check this out. That's super cool. Not old, but pretty cool. Interesting. Tanana Sheet Metal Works, Fairbanks. That's a cool door. The owner's probably going to want that. I have a feeling I'm going to have to haul that piece out of here. Good thing I have a four-wheeler. There's a cool window frame over there too. So check out this cool old ladder. I found this out behind the fallen outhouse. Check this out. It's very cool. I don't think it's old, but the owner likes to use this kind of stuff to hang a lot of her antiques that she finds out here on. So I'm going to take it back for her, see if she wants that for her garden. I think that's an awesome little piece. So I wandered up the hill a little ways behind the schoolhouse, found this little tiny building up here and a little bit more modern outhouse. So came over here, kind of a sunk in area, bring it up
I knew it was some sort of dump. Dug some pieces, and the glass all has stippling on it. So I know it's like 1940s, 50s. So that's all I needed. I'm not going to dig more in this area. I'm definitely looking for older stuff. And I think by looking at that cabin, I think there's probably older stuff around here. So I'm just going to keep looking, see what I can find. Well, it started to rain a little bit out there. So I'm underneath a big tree right now. I didn't show when I found these, but I'm going to show them to you now. There's a piece to a stovepipe. And here's a piece to an old horse harness. So a couple of things I'm going to take out with me. And I think the owner will want to see them. Pretty good rainstorm moved in. It's coming down pretty good out there. So I've decided to duck into the schoolhouse. And Miss Nellie, Miss Nellie and I are gonna sit here. I was thinking about sitting on this chair to have a bite of lunch, but I'm a little afraid what might come out of there and take a bite out of me. I don't know. What do you think? Should I risk it? See any little faces peeking out in there? I don't know. Decided to forego that nasty looking chair, and I'm gonna try the old school desk. Pretty cool. I think I'll sit here and have a bite of lunch. Wait for the rain to stop. Very interesting. In this old schoolhouse, as I was sitting here having lunch, I noticed the walls that I thought were painted over the log, they're covered with burlap sacks. And the burlap sacks have been painted. The original logs are still underneath. Look at that. Very interesting. I wonder why they chose to cover it with burlap and paint it instead of painting the logs. Maybe it held their moss chinking into the cracks in the logs. Maybe that's what they were doing, was stuffing the cracks in the logs and then putting the burlap over it to hold it in. Just a theory anyway. I feel such a connection to Anne Hobbs, the woman that was the teacher here, later became Anne Purdy. Well, I'm an Alaskan. I'm not going to let the rain stop me. So I decided I'm going to leave the schoolhouse and come out and start looking through this bottle dump. And look at what I found. Beautiful granite ware. It's had better days, but it's kind of a cool piece of history. Freaking love the creativity of the old timers. I have to show you guys this piece I just uncovered. This is so cool. Okay, so here's the stove. And I started uncovering this and I thought, oh, it's the stove top. So I turn it over and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Look at that handle. It's a spoon. Something happened and they didn't have their stovetop anymore. And they manufactured one. Check it out. With a cool long-handled spoon. So they can take it on and off. Check that out. There's their top. Yeah. That's a really cool piece of history. Talk about ingenuity. Love that. Oh. That poor granite ware picture has seen better days. Thing is so old. So old. Underneath my feet. Can you hear that? It's just crunchy with cans. Cans and dishes, granite ware. They're so old though. This is late 1800s, early 1900s. It's gonna be so hard to find anything in decent condition. Maybe once I get down a little bit further, things won't be, wow, rusted away quite so much. This is kind of interesting. I dug this up a little earlier. Sad that it's broken, but look at that. It's a number 5. It's a cast iron. It's heavy. Cast iron pot lid. Just dug this piece out from there. It's a piece to this old stove. Look at that. It's really pretty. The owner really likes the pieces to the old cook stoves. I think I'll take that one out. Show you guys something kind of cool here. So on the older bottle dumps that are late 1800s, early 1900s, one way you can tell on some of these tins is when you see this seal at the bottom. That's actually a lead seal. So what they would do is fill the can, let's say it was going to be peaches. They'd fill the can with peaches, put the lid on the top, and on this side, they would have a hole right here that was open. And then they would fill it with like boiling liquid or something all the way. Then they would put a hot lead seal in there that would seal it shut. Obviously, they had to do away with that because people were getting sick. Not really good to have everything sealed with lead. But so that's one way you can date some of these, as you look and you can see that lead seal, the lead plug in there. And that is what is cool about this site. I know this is older. Well, forgive me if I'm out of breath. I've been chopping and hacking and getting through these roots. And there's something, looks like iron maybe, but it's really ornate. Maybe it's a piece to a stove. I'm not sure, but I do want to get it out and see what it is. So I'm going to let you go for a minute and I'm going to keep hacking and chopping away. Feeling my dog is complaining. She's sitting here staring at me on top of what I'm trying to dig. I think she's telling me she's tired of being wet in the rain and she wants to go home. Hey, Nellie, do you want to go? You ready? You all done? Yeah? So this is what I spent the last 10 minutes working on. It is an ornate piece to a stove, but it was actually rusted into 2 pieces already, so kind of a waste of my time, but oh well, it's a cool find. Old piece to a cook stove. So I'm gonna call it a wrap today. Everything, I'm getting wet. I think my dog's complaining, and it looks pretty socked in. So maybe I'll go get dry and get a cup of coffee and warm up. Fun day out here exploring. I hate to say I got rained out, but I'm getting pretty damp. So I guess I'm gonna wrap it up for today. And I'm hoping the weather is nicer tomorrow, because tomorrow I am supposed to be out on the river trying gold dredging and diving. So never done this before. This could be a cool new adventure. So keep watching.